Just recently, a campaign to try to push film companies toward Texas to create films was released, and it's gone viral and caught the attention of many people. Not only because it showcases some great big-name actors from Texas who are trying to promote the state, but also because the commercial itself is pushing money away from Hollywood and tends to not be that woke. So in a society where Hollywood is pushing the woke agenda down the throats of even the smallest children, it's important to take a step back from the cultural things going on in our world to recognize that not everybody is like that. There is some hope. So the It's Good for Texas campaign is something that I want to show you at the beginning of the show because I think it's pretty interesting. So here is Matthew McConaughey, among other actors, speaking up in defense of Texas. Check it out.
I'm Dennis Quaid from Houston, Texas.
I'm proud to be from Texas.
I love my home state of Texas.
I'm not from Texas, but I played Davy Crockett.
We love our home state of Texas.
And what we really love is making movies here.
With its varied and iconic landscapes and incredible talent,
Texas looks good up on the big screen.
Texas used to have a great incentive program that brought hundreds of great movies and shows.
And thousands of jobs for hard-working folks.
and hundreds of millions of dollars to the Lone Star State.
Unfortunately, over the years, the funding became less and less.
Because some people were led to believe that that money was only going into the pockets of big-wig California movie producers and high-priced Hollywood actors like me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
But that wasn't true.
Now all those films and shows, all those jobs, all that positive economic growth for the economy of Texas, it's migrated
To states like New Mexico, Louisiana, Georgia, and
Don't make me say it. Oklahoma.
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma?
Now, before I go any further and get into the substance of this commercial, I have to tell you, if we're going to make fun of a state, it shouldn't be Oklahoma. It should be Nebraska. The elected officials in Nebraska are doing stuff like this.
We need trans people. We love trans people. Trans people belong here. We need trans people. We love trans people. Trans people belong here. We need trans people. We love trans people. Trans people belong here.
Honestly, what is wrong with these people? Anyway, back to the commercial at hand. What's extraordinary about this commercial is not just that it is relatively unwoke for Hollywood elites. Now, of course, you can spy some wokeness in it, but it's not on the surface, and it's not pushing an agenda down your throat. So there is some wokeness to it, at least in terms of some very minor things, but by and large, it's not woke in this way. How in the world today can you have Hollywood elite actors where they're all white? How is that possible? How is that not white supremacist? That everybody in this advertisement to try to push production companies and production projects into Texas, how can all of the stars in this be white? How right-wing extremist are you people in Texas? Well, of course, they're not concerned with that because who should be? Only in the present are we constantly concerned with the dent of people's skin color. It's ridiculous. And the more we can get away from that nonsense, the better. Now, of course, they try to represent, and this is where the kind of quasi-woke stuff comes in. They try to represent some woman calling herself Jax in the commercial. But it just puts her name up on there. Of course, there's diversity in terms of color and all that kind of stuff represented in kind of the minor players of this commercial. But all of the big name guys are white. And why should they have to apologize for that incredible nonsense? This commercial actually doesn't have to do with diversity, which is exactly the point. Surprise, surprise, you can have a commercial where you don't have to shove racial agendas down everyone's throat. You can actually just have a simple commercial that's trying to communicate a message, and the message is the thing we can focus on. How about that for a change? Now, the change here, too, is also that this commercial is pushing dollars away from Hollywood and into Texas, of all places. You mean that Republican hellscape where people actually get to own firearms? I mean, AR-15s that can do this because they're weapons of mass destruction? It's a joke, by the way. That hole was made by a gopher, not an AR-15. Nonetheless, isn't it interesting at a time where we're watching an incredible border crisis and the left is doing absolutely nothing other than complaining, to try to facilitate what's going on in Texas because they care so much about racial diversity and protecting the immigrant. Isn't it interesting that we have these Hollywood elitists, these actors right now trying to support Texas and possibly even support them in their plight as they are, quite frankly, suffering under the hand of poor immigration policies? So suffice to say, I would think if one of the ways that you wanted to support immigrants and actually help people coming into this country, and now this is not my argument, by the way, because I wouldn't make this argument. I would make that humane immigration and stringent policies are the best thing for migration into the country. But if we're going to support the migrant that's coming into the country and we want to take care of them, then maybe one of the ways you could do that is to try to support Texas financially rather than constantly pointing the finger and complaining about them, or putting on your white suit, showing up at the border, and putting on your fake crocodile tears.
Disappointed!
Pushing all that aside, if you actually wanted to support Texas, you might actually take these men up on their invitation here to send money into the state by supporting things like the film industry in Texas and other industries in Texas. Because after all, we are one union and we all are neighbors, whether we like it or not. For all the talk of civil war and all the talk of our nation fraying at the edges, and while I definitely believe the latter, and all the talk about social decline, there might be hope for us after all if we can learn to take even just a small page from the playbook of Matthew McConaughey and others. And by the way, I might mention among the others, Dennis Quaid, a very outspoken conservative Christian. If we can take a page from their playbook and just say this: what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we can actually start supporting places and putting our money where our mouth is rather than just pointing the finger, we might actually be able to make a difference. Surprise! So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely want to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.